You know which game I surprisingly enjoyed recently? Assassin's Creed Origins, of all things. Yeah, it's the one set in ancient Egypt with the feathers and glitchy horses, and I consider that a bit of a surprise given how Ubisoft have been treating this franchise and indeed a host of other IPs. They're churned out to a low standard of quality to ensure that they can hit their yearly release targets and keep public interest in their properties, even if the games end up suffering because of it. Assassin's Creed, at least as far as Origin goes, is a bit of an exception since Ubisoft allocated a 2-year gap between Origins and Syndicate, the previous game, enough time for the dev team to refresh their ideas and make something that wasn't as derivative as previous games. So what you're saying is a hiatus is actually a really cool thing and everyone should do it? Feels weird to be saying, effectively, that some franchises need to stop making games for a while, but this is a very good strategy for any stale, repetitive franchise that is in dire need of a rethink. It doesn't just apply to series that release a new game every year because there's other franchises out there stuck in a continual cycle that might be more spread out but are still just as devoid of any creative ideas. Granted, releasing a game as often as possible will net you more sales, but are you seriously telling me that there isn't at least one person involved in making the game who is more interested in potentially making one incredible game instead of 3 passable ones? I know what pays rent, but I also know what I'd rather tell my grandkids about. You can't put a price on legacy. I looked online before making this video, and a lot of other people who've tackled similar topics have been a lot harsher in their assessment of these franchises. Not just saying that, oh, they need to take a break. No, they actually need to die and stay dead for a long time. And I don't think I hate a franchise enough to not want any game from them ever again. Except maybe Bubsy. He's very, very loud and annoying. There's no getting around how unrealistic this video is. I know I'm not exactly making wild predictions about the next pack of Smash Bros Ultimate DLC or what Breath of the Wild 2 is going to be about, but I am asking well-established franchises that pump out some serious cash to take a break from being wildly profitable, and as long as those games make money, we don't stand a chance. So maybe it's fitting that I'm starting this video by talking about what I feel is the least realistic request to make, since I feel shame for a lot of things in life, but most of it comes from my yearly ritual of buying FIFA, because I'm basic and derive a shocking amount of pleasure out of playing the same game every year with an updated cast of characters. Not my greatest trait, I know, but at least it's fairly harmless. At least I'm not a Smash Bros predator. But if I don't need much to enjoy FIFA games, why would I need them to take a break? Well, that's actually very easy to explain, because recent FIFA games have been pretty terrible and lacking in lots of features, and they've fucked up the difficulty balance, so it does need a bit of time to just work out what it's doing with itself and maybe make something a little more creative. Obviously this isn't going to happen, because there's contracts everywhere binding every little tiny part of this game together, but, you know, in an ideal world, maybe. A man can dream. FIFA presents an extra challenge considering its naming convention, because it would look pretty bizarre if FIFA 19 and FIFA 20 were followed by FIFA something? For a long time I've been thinking that all of EA's yearly sport franchises would benefit immensely from becoming more of a one-time release game that gets frequent updates, more in line with something like League of Legends and Rocket League than its current model. Maybe not even a one-time release, because a new console would bring in potential for improved performance and graphics, but a new game every 4 or 5 years would give FIFA a strong base game with some healthy dev time behind it, with frequent roster updates and patches to the game, which already happened by the way, and a major update before the start of every season to get players buying those card packs that make EA the big money. That's the thing, EA already updates each yearly FIFA every couple of days to tweak stats and gameplay balance, so stretching that to encompass a 4 or 5 year project to coincide with every new console generation wouldn't be that wild. No though, because irrespective of what changes you make, I highly doubt that any model would make EA as much money as the one they're using right now. And if there's one thing I know about EA, it's that they sure do like their money. But hey, pondering what could be done with this stale, uninspiring sports game franchise doesn't hurt anyone, right? Except make you wish for the impossible. So now we've tackled the impossible task of FIFA slowing its roll, how about we talk about another franchise where the prospect of a sizable gap between entries isn't something that I would expect to see in the not too distant future, because as long as it continues to make money, Call of Duty is going to continue doing its thing until the end of the universe. Even though those games haven't been good for a very long time, but does anyone care enough? Feels like a losing battle most of the time with Call of Duty. Sure, it will continue to make very minor tweaks all the time and latch onto latest trends to keep itself relevant in a climate that is mildly obsessed with battle royales, but the Call of Duty that I fell in love with from the mid to late 2000s is long dead at this stage. This is the dictionary definition of a franchise with yearly releases, because since Call of Duty 2 in 2005, there's been a new one of these shooty loud games every year to present day, and you can put your house on there being one every year for the foreseeable future. There's an inevitability to Call of Duty rearing its ugly head once a year, and I don't think anything I say today would ever possibly sway Activision in a direction that would affect their $14 billion empire. But wouldn't it be nice if these games were more than decent for a change? I know that nice doesn't pay the bills, but given the resources available to Infinity Ward and Treyarch, it seems like they're missing a trick here. There are some out there that will chastise any franchise that comes out every year for being featureless cookie-cutter clones of the games that preceded it, but even if these games had a full decade between them, they're still made with such a lack of inspiration and creative thought that they would struggle to gain traction without the Call of Duty name attached to them. The slight caveat with COD, specifically, is that game development is staggered between 3 studios, so that each game has at least 3 years of dev time behind it before it comes out, while also maintaining the yearly release schedule. But all that does is contribute to the franchise's problem with oversaturation, and how I'm just a bit sick of seeing Call of Duty everywhere at the moment. You know, I like consistency as much as the next guy, but I don't want to rely on Call of Duty being this ever-present feature of my Novembers, when it could take a hiatus or two and come back significantly stronger for it. No COD game has come close to matching the levels of Modern Warfare 1 and 2 and Black Ops, and it frustrates me that we may never see games like this again. Hey, Call of Duty fans are already getting feisty at the devs for various reasons, so maybe taking away the games for a while will get the fans back on side in time for a new game. Kinda like a absence makes the heart grow fonder type deal. It's worth a shot, I suppose. I've said it before and I'll say it again, just because a franchise doesn't release a new game every year doesn't mean that it wouldn't benefit from a break. Just think of all the benefits that a break could give you for the mental health of all your employees who don't have to work ridiculous hours and have enough time and freedom to explore where to take this franchise so that it doesn't become stale. I wish Sonic was stale. I wish we were at a stage where the latest yearly release of Sonic was so boringly competent that stagnation had set in and a break would be more of a necessity than a casual suggestion, but alas, Sonic is in a very strange position. Some would say that Sonic Mania is a hopeful sign of the future for 2D Sonic and that Sega should take more ideas from talented, enthusiastic fans, but the last 3D game was Sonic Forces, which was too short, too serious, and too shit for me to enjoy. So rather than Sonic needing a break to give the franchise room to breathe among too many games coming out in a short space of time, Sonic needs some time to work out what it wants to do with itself. Because I'm not sure anyone has a clue what they're doing anymore. While I admire Sega and Sonic Team's commitment to dabbling with a ton of different gameplay styles and ideas with the Sonic franchise, I don't think this has come from a place of genuine experimentation. Instead, I'm fairly confident that Sonic has gone through so many different forms because, at least since its three-dimensional days, they haven't made a critically outstanding video game, and are still looking for a gameplay style that most people will fall in love with. More traditional games like Sonic Adventure and Sonic 06 have struggled with optimization and often derailed into a mess of glitches, while others that switch up the formula like Sonic and the Secret Rings and Sonic Lost World and, Sonic Boom, and even the more lethargic half of Sonic Unleashed have swapped out fun in the relentless strive for innovation. Some of these games are genuinely awful and some of the worst games ever made, and you can't do that with a franchise as big as Sonic. To me, it's infuriating that Sonic Team can't regroup and aim for a new game that's just good Sonic, rather than another fruitless attempt at relaunching this franchise in a new and generally terrible direction. I had high hopes for Sonic Forces, but it boiled down to more of the same inconsistent crap that I couldn't wait to be done with. Just once again, I want to enjoy a Sonic game that plays to the franchise's strength. He's 30 next year, maybe you could do something fun with that. Just don't redesign him, alright? Fast forward 5 years into the future and this list is probably completely different. That's just the nature of discussing the current state of some franchises that need some new impetus to inspire an upturn in the quality of their crappy video games, and who knows, maybe this video becomes irrelevant by the end of the year when, out of nowhere, Fallout turns into a well-respected franchise. I wouldn't hold out much hope for it, but stranger things have happened. Like the state that Fallout 76 was released in and the very bumpy journey it embarked on to be in some kind of playable state 2 years later. Unfortunately, it doesn't matter how good Fallout 76 ends up, the state that it was released in is enough to shatter Bethesda's already splintered reputation, and they need to spend the next couple of years saving a lot of face to restore the public's confidence in their games. Some kind of top to bottom restoration and maybe releasing a next gen Fallout game without the problems of previous games? Or is that asking for too much? Even before the release of Fallout 76, Bethesda's reputation was one of entertaining video games that don't always function as they were intended to do so, and Fallout 76 was the most natural next step possible, and hopefully a sign of how extreme things can get when Bethesda just don't try very hard at all with a video game. So now we've seen how bad things can get, maybe, possibly, we can see how good things can get when Bethesda really try. And it not be shit? How do you solve a problem like Fallout? At this stage, it's safe to say that Bethesda know what kind of game they want to make with their version of Fallout, resembling an FPS game with mere elements of role-playing than any kind of RPG like Fallout 1 and 2, so I don't think a break of any length will convince Bethesda to drop this gameplay style. The issue has always been how to get the most out of each side of Fallout, and giving as much attention to the role-playing and the side quests as ensuring that the shooting mechanics don't feel like shit, and after Fallout 76, I have zero faith that Bethesda can make the Fallout game that this franchise sorely needs without a lengthy hiatus and a period of self-reflection where they work out where Fallout needs to go. You might be surprised to hear this, but I do think that 76 was an interesting move that is at least a little bit like what I want FIFA to become going forward, but obviously the execution was so bungled that I wouldn't use it as much of a guideline for where the franchise should end up. Honestly, I'll take a game that isn't full of glitches and doesn't have stupid dialogue options and doesn't have enemies that explode into reminders that if you're enjoying this video and want to see more, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell for notifications of every new upload. It is hard work getting excited for a new Fallout game these days, so I think some time away from the limelight might help the franchise find its feet again and may even give Bethesda a chance to restore their broken reputation. I need Todd Howard to say something that doesn't make me angry or assume that he's talking shit. That might take a lot of work. I don't want this video to be seen as a negative dressing down of popular franchises. It comes from a place of love that cares about the quality of games that represent franchises that I've really enjoyed in the past. I just think that a well-timed rest would do wonders for the quality of the game and shift the focus away from simply making money. I know people need to eat and CEOs need their bonuses for a third yacht, but you look at how some of the best reviewed games of the past 5 years have done financially and there's nothing to worry about. Maybe it's more about the developers' aspirations and wanting to be something more than a cash cow, because Pokemon is rapidly approaching a milking parlor and a lifetime of being strapped to a machine and squeezed dry. And that feels like a waste, all things considered. Pokemon feels like the most natural fit for a topic like this, because only recently has development felt rushed for the mainline titles. Spin-offs have been part of this franchise since time immemorial and are typically handled by a separate developer that aren't burdened by the weight of expectation of a very needy fanbase. I don't agree with a lot of what the Pokemon fanbase has done and has become in the past year or so, but I somewhat understand the frustration behind what is slowly becoming a franchise that is caring less and less about quality assurance. I liked Sword and Shield, but I didn't love them like I have done with previous games, and maybe you can put that down to tackling new hardware and trying to match the handheld nature of the franchise with the Switch's home console status and the sacrifices that come with that, but I do think that Pokemon would benefit immensely from a regrouping of sorts. We've got new Pokemon Snap and stranger projects like Pokemon Sleep and Unite coming soon, as well as the possibility of Gen 4 remakes in the not too distant future. Surely Game Freak can set aside some time in there somewhere to make a game that gets the most out of the franchise's incredible potential. I'm not too upset with Pokemon Is at the moment, but as long as it divides opinion, you gotta say that it could be so much more. You just gotta give it some time. This is RabbidLuigi, and everyone has their own opinion of what direction Pokemon should go in, and Sword and Shield went at least some way towards showing off what one possibility could be, but I think a lot of people saw what Breath of the Wild did for Zelda and played a lot of Pokemon Go and thought, wouldn't an open Pokemon game be a lot of fun? And yeah, it would, but it would also be a lot of work to, decide how that's going to function in reality. So maybe a break would be good, because you're going to need a run at it. So, what topic would you like to see me cover next? Leave your suggestion in a comment on this video, because I'll be taking the best ideas and making a poll on my community tab, which you can then vote on to decide what the next video is about. I'll be announcing the winner of the poll over on my Twitter, so make sure you follow me so you don't miss out. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.